Hi guys, this is Anna and welcome to my channel. In this video I would like to wrap up my reading month of May. There's only going to be one video because I have not read that many books in the month of May. Have started a lot, quite a few, but in terms of finishing them, not that many. So I'm gonna go through in a chronological order, not in the order I like them. So it's gonna be hopefully quite a quick video. So I've started my finishings in the month of May with this fabulous book by July BST, and this is called The Pamphlet Towers, and I absolutely love this one. I found just so it just completely came to me in the right moment in time. I think I definitely would like to read more by July BST because her style is just so effortless and so sarcastic. This woman is brutal. She's absolutely brutal. She just, if she doesn't like something the character is doing, she just lays it on, and it's a proper British way of being brutal. So she's not really brush about anything. She can diminish a person in a very polite way by making that person feel like a complete and utter idiot, which I absolutely loved. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I definitely would like to pick up more by her as soon as possible. And yeah, I think I've talked about this book when I talked about what my plans are for the month of May. I loved it when I talked about it back then, and I loved it when I finished it, and I just smiled so much when I was reading it. It's just, yes, it's predictable. You know roughly what's going to happen. It's not going to hold a massive reveal or a massive surprise. As I've said, it's a comfort read. If you like slow early 20th century British literature, if you love Downton Abbey, so those relationship between the upper class living in a lovely house upstairs and the servants living downstairs and how they interact, this book will be completely and utterly up your valley. It will be your cup of tea, I can promise, because it has a bit of a ball and a little bit of gossip in a small town and people discussing each other at the back, a little bit of backstabbing, and yes, it's good. It's good. And I wish I came across it sooner. Next book I have finished, and I've been reading it for quite a while. This is Eric Segal, The Doctors. It has been recommended to me by one of my Russian booktube viewers. He has his own booktube channel and he's read it a while back. He said it's something I would like, and I have liked it. This one I gave 4 to 5 stars. Definitely would like to read more by Eric Segal. And the whole premise of this book is you watch two people grow up together from very young childhood for adult life, pretty much into their 40s before they realize they actually meant for each other and they fall in love. But it's not so much about that relationship as a romantic relationship. It's so much more about the life people led back in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s in the United Kingdom. How hard it was for people of color or for women to actually achieve a place in Harvard University, sustain that level of prejudice they have, get through the red tape, get a job in a field they enjoy. There's a beautiful woman in this book who's not one of the main characters, but who's in the same class as the two main characters are. And because she's so beautiful, people just assume she's there for decorative purposes. How dare she is to aspire to be a surgeon. So when she applies, she finishes university because she's bright. But when she applies to do the work she is, the main surgeon who's supposed to look after her, train her, just fills her up in the surgery. It's just a lot of things you would read and you think, really? Really? Does it happen now? Unfortunately, it still does. There is a whole line about World War II and about what happened to the Jews and how it intervenes with the characters, which I absolutely loved. The medical aspect for me was great, but I found, if anything, the book was a little bit naive when it came to talking about academia and science, because the author was like, oh, this is such a horrible thing which has happened. Really? That much of backstabbing and politics? And I was like, oh, you have not seen the real politics in academic sciences yet, mate. it's a little bit naive in that respect, and hence I gave it 4, not 5 stars. But nonetheless, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I would highly recommend it. It is big, but the font is massive, so it's not really gonna take you a while. You're gonna fly through it really, really quickly if you fancy a little bit of a medical setting and a little bit more of a historical writing. The next book I have finished in May was Little Nothings by Marisa Silva, and I have got this book in one of my MOV boxes. It's a little bit of a magical realism, sort of folklore-esque, set in Eastern Europe. I think it was set in the Czech Republic, because I vaguely, like, the more I was reading it, it felt more and more and more like the capital of the country where everything took place was actually Prague. Because the reference to the clock, if you have this book, honestly reminds me so much of the famous clock in Prague. But I might be wrong. It doesn't matter. The author deliberately does not tell you what the country is or what exact language do they speak. But it's based on some of the folk tales, and it does go from strange to really fantastical. And I'm not a person for magical, really. Like, if you tell me it's a folk tale, or if you tell me it's a fairy tale, I'm with you the entire way up. But I don't really fancy interweaving, so I have ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. I liked reading it. Some bits of it I enjoyed more than others, but I don't think I will read this book again, which is a little bit sad, but nonetheless true. There's an event which happens in this book which I did not expect, quite like early on, like probably in the first third, and after that I had to completely reset my mind and go like, okay, we're just dealing with a proper magical realism. It is weird, it's weird, Anna, but just persevere. I liked the humanistic aspect of the book. I liked the way the author used allegory to describe human nature. Yes, that was really nicely done. It's a new way of looking at it, but it wasn't just for me, so I'm sorry. So if anyone fancies this gorgeous book, because it's absolutely fabulously beautiful, it's hardbound, it has its dusty jacket still intact, let me know under this video and I'll just do a giveaway. So if there are any takers, I'll just use the random number generator and I'll send it to you regardless where you live, as long as you're over the age of 18. Or you have your permission. But if you have your parents' permission, you have to be over 16, because some of the stuff in this book, you have to be over 16, shall we say. But yeah, Little Nothings. Hi guys, I forgot to mention that if you would like to get this book, I will run the giveaway open. I will keep it open until the last day of June, so the night between the end of June and the 1st of July at midnight. This is the cutoff point. And I'm going on a school trip, so I will be back on a Sunday, and that's when I just see if anyone wants it and do a giveaway. Yeah. And I have read the non-fiction book, which is called When Breath Becomes Air, and this is written by Paul I always mispronounce it. Actually, the stressing is different. It's not Paul Kalanithi, it's Paul Kalanithi, and it's taken me a very, very long time to get into this book, even though it's so narrow, because I knew I was going to be upset. He has sadly passed away before the book was finished, or the book before he obviously published it, and you have to know that before you start reading it, because it's definitely not a finished biography, and you can see that he was deteriorating more and more as he was writing the book, because he was clearly not capable of spending more time correcting and really trying to bring to life what he wanted. But nonetheless, really loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, maybe even 4.5 out of 5. It's beautifully written, and it's just so sad. Like, you know that he's gonna die. He's very brutally honest about it, and he talks about his life, the influence of people in his life, how he trained up, like basically to get to the point where he is going to be consultant. Like, he went through the medical school, he went through all the registrar's training just to be diagnosed with this incurable cancer, and he still tries to battle it. And him and his girlfriend, they marry and they decide to have a child despite knowing that he has a terminal cancer. I knew about his struggle before this book came out, really, and before it got nominated for so many things. I mean, it has been shortlisted for the Pulitzer Prize for Nonfiction, has been shortlisted for the Wellcome Trust Collection. It has been everywhere, it seems. But if you like the blog called The Cup of Joe, I've been reading the blog for a while. I mean, probably 6-7 years. I've been reading it, if not longer, for a very long time. It's been a big part of my life for a while. Jo, who writes the blog, she's a twin sister of a wife of Paul. So when his diagnosis became known, it was discussed in the blog. And he has also written for Stanford University Press, for the internal magazine, and for the New York Times about his struggles. So before the book was written, he kind of piloted some of those thoughts in the newspapers, and I have read it. And it is really sad. There's no two ways about it. You have to know what you're dealing with before you approach it. But I think it's really worth reading it nonetheless. It will make you appreciate life more. It is very, very humane. Not just appreciate life, it will make you appreciate your life and just be grateful for every day you have. It will make you relish what you have rather than just crave what you don't, if you know what I mean. So yes, absolutely love this. Another, I wouldn't call it a book, it's a pamphlet I've read in the month of May. This is Shmamina Gnozia Adichie, We Should All Be Feminists, and I have given this 4 to 5 stars because I was disappointed. I have watched the original TED Talk, and this little pamphlet is a rewrite word for word of her original TED Talk given in London years ago, which I watched years ago. So I don't know, it's probably me, it's not the book. I love the message, I love her writing style, I love everything about this pamphlet. But because that was written post her talk, I just expected a bit more, like something new added in, maybe like a couple of chapters. But because it's literally the same, I'm gonna leave a link to her TED Talk, which I will really encourage you to watch if you haven't done so already. And then you probably would not even need to read this because the entirety of it will be covered by the author herself, with all the inner jokes, with all of the personal facial expressions in the talk, which is amazing. And that is a very, very known TED Talk because partially, well, thanks to Beyonce, because she has taken part of the lyrics, well, part of the narrative from this little essay on feminism and used it as lyrics in one of her songs, which, forgive me if I offend anyone, but I don't like Beyonce and I don't listen to her music. I don't think she's a feminist, even though she's all about empowering women. I think she just spends way too much time talking about being a jilted woman and still staying behind with her men. So I'm actually really with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie when she said that Beyonce's feminism is not her style of feminism. I know it's going to be a very unpopular view, but every woman and every man, particularly men, I don't think every woman, women already know that, every man, every boy, if you have a son, needs to read this book and just learn to respect women more. I then read Marcus Zusak, The Book Thief. I know, I'm probably the last person on the planet to come across this one and read it. And I had it on my bookshelves for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, I really did not feel for this book much. I gave it 3 out of 5. It was okay, but I don't understand the mass hysteria surrounding this book. Yes, it deals with World War II. Yes, we have lovely characters who live in Nazi Germany, who are Germans, but they're not Nazi themselves and they suffer. There's nothing new about it. I don't understand why people are literally going nuts. This is not as powerful as Anne Frank's diary by a long stretch. But that's alright. I think personally the ending for me was too cheerful. it was a very American. I know the author is not American, but this is a very gleeful, cheerful view where, yeah, sad things happen, but happy ending still prevails. I really, it was just like not my thing. I'm really sorry. I felt not cheated, but close to cheated. It's really strange, but when I was in America, so to finish my schooling, I went to America as exchange student, and I ended up in school in Chicago. And I did history, American history, because it was compulsory in the state of Illinois. I went to Chicago, so state of Illinois, to do American history. And I remember we did World War II history, and my history teacher, he was like, yes, and 120,000 Americans died. And I was like, yeah, do you know how many Jews were killed or how many Russians? And he did not want to disclose the statistics. And then he refused to talk about Holocaust to the class because he thought it would upset some of the students. And I felt so angry, like so angry. If you don't talk about those things with people, they're never gonna learn, and the history will just repeat itself sooner rather than later. And I thought this book was written for children, not for adults. It's just too kind, it's too simplified, too beautified. It's just not real. I felt like I was reading a child novel, even more so than I was reading The Boy in a Stripy Pyjama. This was even more, to me, a one-time read. If I was 10 and someone gave me this book, I would be blown away. But I'm not 10, I'm an adult. I don't think I would read anything else by Marcus Zusak. It's just not my cup of thing. It's not my cup of tea at all. But if you liked it, good for you. I mean, the subject matter is important, and we should talk about it more. But it wasn't my thing. And then the final book, which I have a separate review on, is I have finished the third book in Alexandria Quartet series called Mount Olive, and I leave the link down below if you would like to read a little bit more about this. I gave this particular volume of the quartet 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, and now in June I'm halfway through reading the final 4th book called Clear. So I will definitely finish this series this month, and I'll do my follow-up video on it separately. If you have read anything I have in the month of May and you have similar opinion or a very opposing opinions to mine, I would really like to know and discuss them in the comments down below. Happy reading, guys, and see you soon. Bye.